Guys, gals, everything in between, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be around the world. Just want to say hello to each and every one of you. Hope you're having a good day, had a good day, whatever it is, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. It's Mava Kaga, and this is another Mava Kaga exclusive regarding the Nora Quoirin autopsy report. As promised, I was going to bring it to you as soon as I got it. It has been received. I'm going to read to you what the breakdown of it is, translated in English as it was put out in Malaysian. So some of the words might be a little messed up. I'm going to try to do my best to make it as proper English as possible. Then we're going to read comments, questions, opinions of people, what they have to say about it, what they have to say about the case in general, what they have to say about Nora, her parents, etc. Before I get to it, I just want to ask each and every one of you who haven't subscribed yet, if you can please do so. It would mean a lot to me. I will continue to provide instant updates for all you guys, gals, and wonderful people, everything in between, daily. So, once again, I'd appreciate if you guys hit the subscribe button, bell notification, the bell icon, so you'll be notified whenever a new video does come up, which is, like I said, daily, and you will get notified. I'm trying to do it all for you guys, gals, and everything in between. Here we go. So the report basically breaks down this way. The estimated time of her death was 2 to 3 days. Few bruises and small cut on her foot, so I guess on her feet, but that's not cause for her death. No evidence that she was raped, her hymen was still intact, and no evidence of kidnapping. Rough report that the cause of her death was gastrointestinal rupture bleeding. She did not eat for a very long time. Plus, she was also under extremely stressful conditions. They are still undergoing intensive diagnosis for further clarification causes of her death. Next update will be soon. So it looks like the main reason, so they say, was gastrointestinal rupture bleeding, which is internal, inside her body. We're going to read some comments of people with a breakdown of what they think, and then I want you guys to send me opinions and comments in the comment section in the basement below there, down where it's the comments. Type it in. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, let's discuss it. I will reply to each and every one of you. First thing here was we are probably talking about different statements. Here is one article that is part Matthew Cyril statement that I read. Frustration is basically what they're saying. That's an article that we're referring to. Let's go and see where the actual comments start about the actual report. Okay, so there's people thanking for the press conference. Now, let's see what some of the comments are, as it's just loading up. 6 cops shot in Philly. Let me know if you guys want me to talk about that as well. I can do that in a future video. Strange thought reading last few posts. Dad and children jet lagged. Mom essentially not. Strange that Dad was up first, not Mom, especially as she hadn't seen her children for the last week or so. Changes nothing, but just something I hadn't considered until the last few posts. Reply. Mom's flight from Sydney is shorter than Dad and kids from UK. It's heartbreaking to think of her all alone, scared and starving, and most probably hiding from searchers. If only they had found her 4 days earlier. Well, yeah, if they found her 4 days earlier, she'd be alive. Here's a comment. What if Nora and her parents had argued? Nothing out of the ordinary for parents and kids. Or maybe Nora and her siblings had argued. Was something said which Nora took literally? Did this prompt her to leave? Even the most sensitive and kind people can have a meltdown and need to cool off. What do we make of this press conference? Okay, folks, is it close to time for the press conference? 2 o'clock. Story about the jet lag. 3 kids. One is handicapped, traveling an 18-hour flight. The drive to the resort in a taxi. Maybe stop for groceries. Language barrier. New time zone. Of course, jet lag, even if you take away the kids. 8 a.m. in Malaysia is 1 a.m. in the UK. So Dad was up at 1 a.m. UK time. And the first day is the worst. Just my opinion. Where is the 18 hours coming from, is the reply. Google shows us less than 13 hours from London to Kuala Lumpur. In response to the mom's flight from Sydney is shorter than dad and kids from UK, it's not the flight length, it's the time zones that create jet lag. LOL, this reminds me of a house on the way to the barn where my daughter rides. It is on a large hunk of property and has a long driveway. The driveway has a working electronic gate, but it isn't attached to anything on either side. You can walk or drive right around. It's so weird and it looks really dumb. Why have that? Reply, thanks for a belly laugh. So needed. Here's one reply. Apparently there were no signs of kidnapping. The original post from standard.co.uk said Nora died of internal injuries from prolonged hunger and stress. Response was so very sad. There's a reply. Thank you so much for the translation of the report. It's not the flight length, it's the time zones that create jet lag. The reply to that is Sydney, Kuala Lumpur direct flight is 9 to 10 hours, so it isn't short either. I agree that time zone affects the body's biorhythm, not the flight length, although the long travels are exhausting anyhow. On a side note, I'm here in Canada, and I remember when I went to Italy, that the main thing isn't the flight itself. That was about 9 hours, but there's also a 6-hour time difference. So that's where it adds up, where it really can screw your body and your mind up. Because, if you arrive there at 9 in the morning, their time, here it's 3 in the morning. So you can see where jet lag would take effect. I don't think it's so much the flight time, but the actual change in time zone as well as the flight time. I don't know. I never really got affected by the flight time. I was more about the changing of the time from country to country. All right, let's see some more comments. The original post was, I don't know, but either one makes me sad. If only she could have been found sooner, but I know everyone did their best. I'm almost surprised she was found at all, considering the terrain. Just such a sad case. Reply, it is pretty hardcore there. If she had stayed up in one place, maybe easier. She was probably moving around too. And they talk about when they went to school and lunch cards, this and that. Not really important there. This is interesting. The original post was, so, Nora was probably alive and hiding from strangers until she died of stress and hunger. She probably came for her last drink of water and went to sleep. What police must investigate now is how exactly she ended up near the waterfall, considering her parents' stubborn arguments about her ability to even go to the garden alone. Did someone guide her to the waterfall and just leave her there? Reply, that is so sad. Forensic can do so much to tell the story. They can analyze what is under her fingernails, hair, and really most anything for clues. It's amazing the capabilities of the world today. Just my opinion. Original post, all lines of thoughts are plausible until proven invalid. Reply, yes, did she go by herself to the waterfall, or did someone take her? With Nora's body found, there was never a good outcome, and to think of her wandering around or cowering and lost, possibly within feet of the search teams, is unbearable. However, thank goodness she didn't endure sexual assault or worse before she died. Incredibly sad, and her parents will never know what made her leave the cabin that night or morning. I followed threads where the kids walked in circles. They are hard to find. The original post, she was probably weak after 2 days of going missing if she hadn't eaten anything. Poor soul. Reply, it was longer than that. She had been missing since the 4th. Some more talk about the school. She was missing for 10 days. It was never said that she was not able to go in the garden. They said she would not even go into the garden alone. She cuddled with her mom every night while her mom read her a story. It's called bonding, and it shows that she was truly loved and cared for, in my opinion. I think she's been dead 2 to 3 days, By day 10, there is significant decomposition. They said the body was intact. Post from standard.co.uk again. Nora survived for a week before she starved in Malaysian jungle. Reply, makes me so sad to think of her wandering around in the jungle. Just so relieved she didn't endure any sexual assault before she died. Poor kid probably heard them looking for her. Also, a complete and sudden withdrawal from any medications she might have been on couldn't help the situation at all. Depending on what she took, if anything, she may have been feeling quite horrendous and weak after a day. I'm happy to hear that she wasn't murdered or sexually assaulted, but it's definitely heartbreaking to know she was alive for most of this time. I wonder if they'll ever be able to trace her movements at all. I'm sure the investigation is ongoing, and more answers may be gleaned, but they'll likely never know how or why she left the cottage. Kidnapping seems unlikely now, with no sexual assault. I hope that when she finally laid down, weariness just washed over her in a comforting way. This is one of those cases where I have to remind myself that truly, she is at complete peace now, and any fear she had isn't even a memory anymore. Let's read one more page. Another interesting post with questions. She was found in an inaccessible place, but according to the team that found her body, it looked like she was sleeping. Her head was resting on her hands, suggesting her body wasn't dumped. Some have suggested she may have wandered there herself and ultimately lay down to die, but if the area is inaccessible to experienced hikers, how could she have made it there by herself? Post-mortem showed no sign of physical or sexual trauma, and her body has been released. Cover-up possible, but from what I read, the results themselves, in terms of cause of death, are not being challenged by the family. It is the conclusions that have been drawn from this in terms of no third-party involvement. Her body was discovered in an area that had previously been searched a few days after the search teams relocated to a different area, suggesting if there were third-party involvement, they were actively following the search. Nora's body was found just one day after Nora's mother made an emotional appeal and the rewards of $10,000 was announced. I think this is significant. I'm speculating that Nora was with someone before she died, whether abducted or found disoriented, who decided her body needed to be found, through change of heart or realization that they couldn't do any more for her, but couldn't come forward for fear of being accused of criminal activity. All just my humble opinion. Yes, there are still many unknowns in this case. It is unbelievable that Nora could have made it to that location on her own. Walking through the jungle and navigating the steep sides of the mountain requires a lot of energy. If she had not eaten for a week and was starving, I would think she would have been incredibly weak. I don't see how she could have had that stamina to keep wandering around after just a few days. And that's not even considering her disability, or the fact that she must have been extremely ill. She may have been vomiting and dizzy and disoriented. I just can't see her being mobile just a few days before, and that being the reason they missed her. She would not have been able to move that fast. I'm surprised she didn't have more severe injuries, in my opinion. Original post said, but in their defense, I honestly think they booked that holiday thinking Nora would love it and didn't think she would be unsafe at all. Reply, exactly, and I hate to lay any blame or scolding upon them, when they no doubt are beside themselves with grief and guilty feelings already. Let's see what this person originally said. The unfairness and the insensitivity of your post is staggering. So much for victim-friendly forum. I'm going to step away from this thread for my own sake. Just my opinion. Reply. I have shown the utmost sensitivity for the victim. I cannot imagine how scared Nora was and how utterly alone and afraid she was, and she didn't mentally have the tools to comprehend what was going on around her. I have nothing but the utmost sympathy for her, and I find it a tragedy that she lost her life in a situation that was totally avoidable. Original post. I would have thought her feet would have more than a few scratches after being barefoot in the jungle. Reply. We can't know this though. She may have had tough feet from walking barefoot generally. She may have hidden rather than walked around. Original post. Scratches on the soles of the feet were stated. Reply. I'm surprised she didn't have deep cuts or blisters on her feet. It's amazing she could walk at all. After just a few days, I would think they were very sore and painful. This is a reply to someone suggesting her body wasn't dumped. I understand some of your thoughts and ideas, but I have a hard time figuring out how anyone could have pulled it off. Where could they be holding her? How could they transport her back to the waterfall area without potentially being seen by searchers, tourists, or officers? And why? Original post. Why would someone take her if they were just going to basically abandon her? She wasn't murdered or assaulted. I can't think of another reason why someone would do this. Reply. Good point, and the answer is no one and no other reason. No kidnapper would walk the girl a leisurely 1.6-mile stroll into the jungle, leave her there, and make the escape. That would be silly and pointless. A waste of any kidnapper's time and above all nonsensical. Far too close for comfort too, for any third party, given the short distance from where she was staying. Yes, she walked there from her accommodation entirely alone. Reply to the one about talking about her walking barefoot. True, and I personally wouldn't conclude anything about the scratches without seeing them myself. I would think a doctor would have said abrasions rather than scratches anyway. Perhaps this is something that was lost in translation. Question previously about why would someone take her if they were just going to basically abandon her? Police can. It has happened before. I imagine that Nora's desire to see the waterfall was communicated on August 4th. Her legacy should be that all relevant information is provided early in the search. Original post. I've been wondering about this as well. What were the exact conditions of her feet? How much walking did she do during those 7 days? Do you have a link to the article? Thank you. It was part of the announcement this morning when cause of death was reported. Talking about she had not eaten for a week and was starving, I would think she would have been incredibly weak. I don't see how she could have had the stamina to keep wandering around after just a few days. Children have been found alive after not eating for several days. She drank water from the stream and probably hid and slept in a nearby location. Who knows about that, but I suppose not everyone would find a foreign country with a tropical rainforest and a resort with a pool overlooking the mountains boring. Some would consider it a cultural and educational experience. They might enjoy the food and everything else it has to offer. I doubt they brought their children there unwillingly. I can't imagine a child being bored in such a magical place. Maybe they enjoy learning and absorbing everything around them. Not every child has a short attention span. I really can't judge the parents for their choice of vacation. Everybody's likes and interests are different. Comparing them to yours just isn't productive. I've been told I should not allude to involvements of the family as it is wrong, disrespectful, and there is no proof, etc. If we're having an open and frank discussion, then everything has to be looked at. I have not accused anyone of anything. I'm tackling this from a common sense perspective with limited knowledge and info only received via the media that has been released. From what I have been told, limited info, Nora had special needs, didn't communicate well, and didn't go anywhere ever independently. She also had some mobility issues. From this info alone, you can deduce that it's highly unlikely she left that chalet apartment alone in the dark, through a window or spiral staircase without anyone knowing about it. Highly statistically unlikely. So, she was either abducted by a stranger or someone somewhere knows a lot more than they are telling. The fact that she appears to have been roaming the jungle for a few days after the day she disappeared and prior to being found deceased is statistically unlikely given the information we have already been told via the media from the family. Of course, we only know what we've been told via the media, so hopefully we are being told the full comprehensive truth. Original post. The turning point was the information that Nora really wanted to see the waterfall, not the reward. I am speculating that a sleeping Nora was taken to the waterfall by someone following the stream and just left there. She was extremely traumatized after waking up by herself in the forest. She developed duodenal ulcer quickly from the stress of trying to find her way back to the cabin, hiding from strangers. Reply. Have you thoughts as to who that someone may be? I want to state at first that I do believe Nora left on her own and got lost. However, I've been trying to answer the question that if she was abducted, why? She was not sexually assaulted or murdered. The only thing I can think of, if perhaps someone saw her earlier in the day and did take her. However, once they abducted her, they realized that she was mentally handicapped, and this was too much for them, leading to them abandoning her. Well, there you have the latest update. I'm going to stick with my theory that the father has something to do with this. I don't care if I'm going to get flack for that. That is my opinion. I am entitled to it. I want your guys' opinion, comments, questions in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. What are your theories? What do you think really happened? Did she go alone? Did somebody take her? Did somebody abduct her? Did somebody kidnap her? What are your thoughts? What are your comments? What are your opinions? I told you mine. I know that this website that I was reading the post from, they are very, very anal when it comes to talking about parents and everything else. My girlfriend posted her opinion there a few days ago, and quickly the post was removed because it mentioned she had a feeling it had something to do with the parents. This is supposed to be an open forum, where you're able to talk about anything. It's what's going to happen if somebody reads the post from the law enforcement? Are they going to be suspicious of this post and somebody's going to get arrested because of it? No, that's just ridiculous. Anyways, I'm done rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. As I said before, please subscribe, hit that bell icon, you will be notified, and I will continue to send you guys updates every day about this and other cases and stories that are going on around the world. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm very grateful that the new people have come on board with me and are willing to take a chance on me. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Guys, gals, everything in between, have a great day, evening, morning, wherever you may be. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Have a good night, and as usual, peace.